The crowded martial arts gym had always been a place where discipline was supposed to come before ego. Bright afternoon sunlight poured through the tall windows as students gathered around the sparring mat, expecting another routine training session. Instead, they witnessed something that would haunt them forever. A nationally celebrated black belt wrapped both arms around a young woman's neck during a practice match, refusing to release the choke long after the instructor called for the sparring to stop. The room fell silent as the frightened woman struggled to breathe. Just before she collapsed, the champion leaned closer and coldly reminded everyone not to forget who he was. At that exact moment, the gym's front door quietly opened. A gray-haired man wearing an ordinary hoodie stepped inside carrying nothing more than a small gym bag. Nobody recognized him. Nobody realized he had spent 20 years training elite Navy SEAL operators whose survival depended on remaining calm under impossible pressure. Within minutes, arrogance would meet a lesson that every person inside the building would remember for the rest of their lives. Before we continue this unforgettable story, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Every subscription helps us continue sharing emotional stories that inspire people around the world. The quiet stranger's name was Elias Thorne. Years before that afternoon, he had served as one of the military's most respected close-quarters combat instructors. While newspapers celebrated famous athletes and championship fighters, very few people knew Elias had spent decades preparing elite Navy SEAL teams for missions where mistakes often meant lives would never return home. His lessons were never about winning tournaments. They focused on control, awareness, restraint, and protecting the people who could not protect themselves. After retiring from military service, Elias disappeared from public attention. Following the loss of his wife to a sudden illness, he devoted his life to raising his teenage daughter, Taryn, while quietly volunteering as a mentor for young people struggling with confidence and bullying. He believed the strongest person in any room should also be the safest person in that room. Across town, 23-year-old Maren Holt had recently joined Iron Summit Academy after saving for years to afford professional martial arts training. She dreamed of becoming a self-defense instructor who could help women feel safer and stronger. Although naturally talented, she was surrounded by experienced competitors who often underestimated her simply because she was new. Among them stood Ronan Voss, a decorated black belt champion with countless medals covering the walls of the academy. His victories had earned admiration from thousands, but success had slowly transformed confidence into pride. Students admired his skill while quietly fearing his temper. Coaches overlooked his behavior because championships attracted sponsors, media attention, and new enrollments. For months Maren endured sarcastic remarks, unnecessary aggression during practice, and constant attempts to intimidate her. She refused to quit. Every bruise strengthened her determination. She believed discipline would eventually earn respect. Unfortunately, Ronan viewed determination as defiance. On the afternoon that changed everything, students gathered for advanced sparring demonstrations before an upcoming regional tournament. Cameras recorded practice highlights while family members watched from the viewing area. Maren was unexpectedly paired with Ronan. At first, the match appeared normal. Then Ronan abandoned every lesson martial arts was supposed to teach. Ignoring safety rules, he trapped Maren in a dangerous chokehold after the referee ordered a stop. Instructors shouted for him to release immediately. He didn't. Students stood frozen. Some were too shocked to move. Others feared confronting the academy's most celebrated champion. Maren's face began losing color as panic spread through the room. That was the exact moment Elias walked through the front entrance. He had come only to deliver donated training equipment for the academy's youth outreach program. Instead, he witnessed something entirely different. He calmly placed the equipment bag on the floor. Without raising his voice or showing anger, he stepped onto the mat. Years of military experience had taught him that panic only creates more danger. His movements were almost invisible. One precise adjustment broke Ronan's grip without causing unnecessary harm. Another controlled movement gently guided Marin safely away. The entire exchange lasted only seconds. Nobody fully understood what had happened. They simply realized the frightened young woman was finally breathing again. Ronan immediately stood, furious that a stranger had interrupted him. Believing reputation alone would intimidate the older man, he proudly listed championship titles, international victories, and years of experience. Elias listened quietly. When Ronan finished, Elias simply asked whether any of those achievements had taught him when to stop hurting someone. Silence answered. The academy owner, embarrassed by what everyone had witnessed, invited Elias into a private office. During their conversation, old military photographs displayed on Elias's identification folder revealed his remarkable career. Several retired service members training at the gym immediately recognized his name. Whispers spread quickly. This ordinary-looking father had trained instructors responsible for preparing Navy SEAL operators. Everything suddenly made sense. His calm. His precision. His complete lack of fear. News of the incident reached local media after spectators uploaded videos online. Most clips focused not on Elias's technique but on the moment he chose restraint instead of revenge. Reporters expected dramatic interviews exposing Ronan publicly. Elias refused every invitation. He insisted the story wasn't about defeating another fighter. It was about protecting someone who needed help. Meanwhile, Marin struggled emotionally. Although physically recovering, she questioned whether she belonged in martial arts at all. The experience left invisible wounds deeper than bruises. Elias visited her during rehabilitation sessions. Instead of teaching advanced combat techniques, he shared lessons about resilience. He explained that courage isn't measured by never falling. It's measured by standing again despite fear. Gradually, Marin returned to training. This time, under Elias's quiet guidance. Morning sessions focused on awareness, breathing, balance, and discipline. Weeks became months. Confidence slowly replaced anxiety. She discovered that genuine martial arts had little to do with dominating opponents and everything to do with mastering yourself. Meanwhile, Iron Summit Academy underwent painful changes. An independent review exposed years of ignored complaints involving unnecessary aggression and favoritism. Several instructors admitted they remained silent because Ronan attracted business. The academy owner realized that protecting profits had nearly destroyed the very values martial arts promised to uphold. Strict safety reforms followed. Every instructor completed ethics training. Student welfare became more important than tournament medals. Respect replaced fear. Ronan faced suspension from competition. For months he blamed everyone except himself. Then one afternoon he quietly visited a veterans community center where Elias volunteered teaching confidence workshops for teenagers recovering from trauma. Watching Elias patiently encourage frightened young people changed something inside him. Here stood a man capable of defeating almost anyone, yet choosing every day to lift others instead. Ronan finally understood the difference between strength and power. He apologized to Marin without cameras. Without excuses. Without demanding forgiveness. She accepted the apology but reminded him that trust requires actions, not words. Determined to change, Ronan began volunteering alongside Elias. He taught free self-defense classes emphasizing control rather than intimidation. Students noticed the difference immediately. The man who once fought to protect his reputation now trained to protect others. 1 year later, the same gym hosted another regional demonstration beneath bright afternoon sunlight. Families again filled the viewing area. Children laughed while beginners practiced basic movements. This time, Marin stood at the center of the mat, not as a frightened student, but as one of the academy's newest certified instructors. Elias watched quietly from the back row. Pride filled his eyes. Not because she had become an exceptional martial artist. Because she had become someone capable of making frightened people feel safe. At the end of the demonstration, every student bowed together. Not to celebrate victory, but to honor respect. The applause echoed through the gym far louder than any championship announcement ever could. As everyone left that peaceful afternoon, Elias smiled gently. He had spent decades preparing elite warriors for impossible missions around the world. Yet perhaps his greatest achievement wasn't found on military bases or inside classified training facilities. It was helping ordinary people discover extraordinary courage within themselves. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, and leave a comment telling us which lesson inspired you the most. Your support helps Single Dad Empire continue creating stories that remind us compassion is the greatest form of strength. Glowing star special request, comment, true strength protects, if you believe the strongest people are the ones who use their power to keep others safe. As the warm afternoon sun slowly faded beyond the gym windows, Elias watched new students helping each other learn their first simple techniques. There were no roaring crowds, no flashing cameras, and no championship trophies at that moment. Only kindness, patience, and people choosing respect over pride. And perhaps that was the greatest victory martial arts could ever offer. Because the strongest hands are never remembered for how hard they can strike, but for how gently they can lift someone back onto their feet when they need it most.